Before we start today's episode, I want to let you know about TorFX, an international money transfer service that can be used to move money to Australia or send funds anywhere in the world. TorFX are offering a one-time $100 credit when you set up an account using the referral link available at smartstepstoaustralia.com/TorFX. Here's how it works. Set up your account using the link, log into the TorFX app or online platform and make an international transfer of at least $2,000 in either one transfer or across multiple trades. Once the transfer is complete, $100 will be credited to your account. It's that simple. Smart Steps to Australia receives a commission if you use the link and go on to transfer funds. This is at no extra cost to you. This is not intended as financial advice. This is just information about the service. Please make your own assessment and do your own due diligence before using any financial service. You can find the referral link at smartstepstoaustralia.com/TorFX. Now let's get into today's episode.
Welcome to the New Life in Australia podcast, hosted by me, Karen Bleakley, founder of smartstepstoaustralia.com. Moving to Australia with my family was a life-changing experience, but it wasn't without its challenges. That's why I'm passionate about making the relocation and resettlement process easier for you so you can enjoy this exciting adventure. Join me and my special guests as we share professional secrets and tips, learn from people who've made the move, and discover businesses that can help you realise your dreams. Now is the best time to create the life you've always wanted. This podcast is here to show you what's possible and to inspire you every step of the way. Let's go.
Let's take a moment to acknowledge the Gubbi Gubbi people, the traditional owners and custodians of the land on which I live, work and play. I thank them for the privilege of being able to live in such an incredible part of the world, and I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Hey there, welcome to the new season of the New Life in Australia podcast. I'm your host, Karen Bleakley, and in this new episode, I wanted to reflect on the episode that was at the end of the very last series. So episode number 48 was called Create Your Vision, Plan Your Life and Future in Australia. And that episode has gone down really well. It's had some of the highest download numbers that I had for the entire series, and actually it's beat many of the other seasons before that as well. So it's obviously struck a bit of a nerve. So I thought to start off the new series, it would be really good to do a follow-up episode to that one. So I wanted to make this episode about your anti-vision, what you definitely don't want your life to look like, because I know that sometimes when people say to you, what do you want out of your life? What do you want to create? It can be really overwhelming and daunting if you just don't know what you want. You could have anything. It's like a really difficult thing to kind of contemplate sometimes. So this episode is kind of the opposite. It's about looking at what you don't want your life to look like. Now, that is something that is really easy to put on paper. And in doing that, it really does help you look then at what it is that you do want, because you've been so clear about what it is that you don't want. So that is the focus of this week's episode. I hope you enjoy it. So if you've been feeling overwhelmed by creating your best vision, if you've been feeling unclear about what it is that you want out of life, if you've been stuck in the planning mode and you feel kind of stuck in survival mode and you're afraid of making the wrong decision, which I know is always something that I kind of struggle with myself. So I know that it's something that's very, very common. So basically the idea of that is that rather than starting with what it is that you do want, we are going to look at it through a process of elimination. We're going to be really focused on what you don't want. And then when you're more clear on that, it will give you something more concrete to work with. And so that you can just stop kind of drifting around and start heading towards creating the life that you really do want. I know that there were a lot of great journaling exercises in that last episode that I find really, really helpful, but they can also feel quite stressful and overwhelming if you're in a place where you just can't quite figure out what it is that you want. And I know that sometimes that you can kind of freeze when you ask those questions because you just aren't quite sure what you do want life to look like or what would be possible for you. So this episode is going to be great for you. It will help you if you're planning your big move, but it will also help you if you've made the move here already and you're still trying to kind of figure out what your life looks like. And it can help you whether you're in a life transition, maybe you're thinking about future careers or where you want to go with your home or traveling or lots of different areas of your life. So I really hope you find it useful. So what is the anti-vision? Let's just kind of define that so that we know where we're going with this. It's about the life that you do not want to drift into. And when you don't have a really solid vision or a core kind of plan or list of goals, it really is easy to drift in life and just kind of go with the flow. And when you do that, you find that you end up somewhere, but not necessarily the place that you actually want to get. So the idea of the anti-vision is to really define exactly what you don't want your life to be, and which patterns that you maybe have been repeating in the past, which patterns you want to stop repeating. It's about the feelings that you don't want to be your normal default feelings. What feelings really do get you down? What feelings are a sign for you that you aren't living a life that's lighting you up? That's really key. So it's not really about negative thinking. It's not about focusing on failure. It's more about becoming aware and looking at the patterns in your life, looking at how things make you feel, and just sort of acknowledging those so that we can actually change direction and set a new course for our lives. This analogy I heard recently might be helpful for you. It's like noticing the potholes in the road before choosing your route. It's not necessarily going to completely change your route, but it will adapt your route so that you can avoid those potholes. If you don't know that they're there, you're just going to go straight into them. So think about that as you're planning this. So why is now a really good time to tackle this? Well, if you're listening to this, I'm assuming you're either in the middle of planning your move to Australia, or you have moved to Australia and you're settling into your new life. So I think for our particular experiences, it is really important to do some vision setting and understand where you actually want your life to go and where you don't want your life to go. When you move to a new country, it's really easy to arrive with lots of energy and excitement, and then that can dissipate and you can just get into a system where you're kind of running on autopilot, where you are kind of living day to day rather than thinking about the future. Because I know that when you are planning the big move, everything in your life is focused on that big move. And when you actually get over here, it's really easy to kind of let go of that planning side of things and just go with the flow a little bit. But actually now is the best time to really get stuck into creating that life that you always wanted, because just being in the country isn't enough. There's so much more to life when you get here, and you will really get the benefit if you actually spend time creating that vision for what it is that you want, so that you're working towards something. When you arrive, it's really easy to just kind of get into survival mode, and you, especially if you've got kids, you're kind of just in school runs and working and all of the things that you perhaps did in your old country, but that's not why you moved over here. You moved here for a better life. So yes, I know that there's an awful lot of admin involved in making the move. And once you get through all of that, that's a really ideal time to really set your sights further ahead and start thinking about where it is that you want to go, so that you're not just arriving and kind of drifting into a life that feels okay, but doesn't deliver what you actually always dreamed it would. The truth is that most people don't end up in a life that they actually consciously chose. They end up in a life that they just gradually accepted, a life that they gradually moved into bit by bit, and it just happened to them. So it's a chance to kind of step outside your life for a few minutes, just listening to this podcast, and start to kind of take back that control again, so that life isn't happening to you, it's actually happening for you, and actually you have an awful lot of control about where you end up. So when it comes to setting your anti-vision, there are really 4 key pieces of this. Let's start with the first: how I don't want to feel. Now, it's really great to sit down here with a pen and paper, and also hopefully you've got some peace and quiet. If you aren't driving and you're somewhere quiet and safe, then just close your eyes and tune into how you feel. Start thinking about what emotional state you don't want to become your default. What feelings do you want less of in your everyday life? Have a little think now and just sit with it for a few minutes, and then get your pen and paper and write down a few notes. Now, examples of this is you might not want to feel constantly overwhelmed or lonely or disconnected. You might not want to feel stressed or emotionally flat or uninspired, or you might not want to feel homesick, which I know is a really common thing when we make the move across the world. That, like, there's lots of different ways that you don't want to feel. So sort of sit down, think about them and write them down on a list now. The thing is, when it comes to setting goals, it's really important to set goals that connect to a feeling, because when they have an emotion attached to them, you're so much more likely to achieve them and actually go through with them. So I really do think that just getting clear on what you don't want and how you don't want to feel really does help you work out what it is that you do want in your future. Now, the second thing is to think about what you don't want your everyday life to look like. Think about your daily reality. Just imagine, if things stayed this way in the next 2 to 5 years, what would my days be like? Are you always rushing everywhere? Do you make time for exercise or rest? Do you have good social connections and friends to hang out with? Are you always reacting instead of planning? Are you always stressed about money? Like, what things definitely don't you want in your future? Definitely what don't you want your life to look like? This is a great opportunity to look into how you're living your life every single day and the patterns and habits that are currently ruling your life at the moment. And when you start recognizing those, it gives you that opportunity to make a change. And the third one is to look at what you don't want to sacrifice. So it's about taking your values in reverse. So you could ask yourself, what am I at risk of losing if I'm not intentional? Now, this might be relating to your health. It could be about your relationships or your free time. It could be about your creativity, your sense of joy. It could be lots of different things. So really start having a think about what you're at risk of losing if you aren't intentional. What things in your life that are important to you do you not want to sacrifice? And I know that sometimes you're not deliberately sacrificing things. Like, for instance, when my kids were much younger, I found it really difficult to make time to exercise and to go out. And so I was definitely sacrificing my health and found it really difficult. I was also not sleeping through the night very often with 3 little kids. So I was, again, sacrificing my health because I wasn't getting the quality sleep that I needed. Sometimes in certain phases of your life, it is really difficult not to have to sacrifice some things. But the point is that you can't go on like that forever. Obviously, when my kids grew a bit older, then I did start making the time to go out every single day for walks in the sunshine. I did start sleeping through the night, or if they weren't sleeping through the night, even when they were young, I'd be taking daytime naps or doing whatever I could to make sure that I was getting that sleep. But there was definitely a phase in my life when I was sacrificing things, but it's just not something that you can actually do long term before it really does start to impact on your health. So just start paying attention now to the things that you've been struggling with, and that you know that if you carry on sacrificing those things, they're going to really have a negative impact on your life going forward. I know also that when you first arrive, there can be a lot more stress in your life. You might find that you're working a lot more, trying to sort of get your career set off in the new country. You might be working more hours. You might be in a more stressful role while you're kind of trying to find your feet. So there definitely are things that can be in the short term that you're sacrificing. And we do all have to go through phases where we go through hard times in order to get to the good times after it and to kind of build something that we're trying to build. But I think it's just having a look at your life and seeing if there's anything that consistently you're sacrificing, that you can start to give some priority to it to improve your life. Right, when you've written down some for those points, have a think about number 4, who you don't want to become. Now, this one will involve a little bit of reflection. So close your eyes and have a think about your identity. You're somebody that has big dreams because you're listening to this because you want to move to Australia, or you've moved to Australia. So you are somebody that's really capable of dreaming. But maybe when you get here, it might be harder to continue those dreams. Sometimes, as I say, when you feel like you've achieved your dream and you actually land in the country, that part of you kind of forgets to carry on with those dreams. So who don't you want to become? You don't want to become someone who ever stops dreaming those big dreams. You don't want to be somebody who is always busy but never fulfilled. And you don't want to be somebody who's just living life the way it's expected of them, which I know was something that I was really scared of when I lived in the UK. It was just, you buy a house, you have kids, you get a job, you work, you retire. It just felt like that was just what was expected of you. And I never wanted that to be my life. I always wanted there to be more of life. So have a really good think about who don't you want to become? And like write that down now so that you've got that on paper. Like, this is something I do not want and it's not going to happen to me. Now, with all of these notes that you're taking, it's not about creating judgment. It's more about just giving yourself the time and space to create awareness of the direction that maybe you're heading in at the moment that maybe isn't the direction where you want to go. And when you start writing down all of these things that you don't want, you can start to see any areas where you need to make a change of direction so that you are heading in the way you want, not in the way that you don't want. Okay, we're on to the next section now, and this is where you turn your anti-vision into something that gives you some really useful clarity about where it is you want to go. It's a really empowering phase of the process. The anti-vision becomes a decision filter so that you can look, is the thing that I want to do taking me closer or further away from where I want to be and who I want to become? It really does set you some boundaries so that you can see when you're heading in the direction or in the wrong direction. And it gives you a bit of a warning system so that when you're misaligned, you have that power to kind of pull back and take control again. So you've got your notes and you can look at those, and it can help filter all of your decisions for you. So when it comes to choosing a job, you might look at that list and it might help you decide if it's the right job for you. Is it going to be a job that's going to lead to burnout and stress? If so, then that likely is probably in one of the things in your anti-vision list of what you don't want. So it will really help define whether the jobs that you're thinking about are the right jobs for you. It can help you choosing locations where you want to be. Perhaps if in your anti-vision, you kind of have identified that that you don't want to become somebody who's stuck inside all the time, who never gets to go to the beach and never gets to go to the coast and never gets to get out in nature. That might help have some implications about where you decide you might want to live, because it might make you realise that you want to live somewhere that you're near a forest to go for regular walks, or that you're near a beach so that you can go for regular walks on the beach or get out in nature or whatever it might be. So choosing commitments is a really important one as well, that if you find that you're getting really overwhelmed by too many things to do and you're being pulled in too many directions, and that was something that you've noted during the notes above that is sort of pulling you down, and it's definitely something that you don't want, then that can give you that empowering ability to say no to more things and to protect your time more carefully so that you can put that energy into the things that really do matter for you. So this clarity, it's not so much about telling you what you do want to do, but it's telling you what you want to stop doing, which in turn allows you to decide what you want to do. Now, you've got your little list in front of you from those 4 sections. I would really now invite you to just spend a few minutes journaling to write down the answer to this. I know I'm moving away from a life where ... And then pause, just think about what you want to fill in the gaps with there. I know I'm moving away from a life where I feel constantly rushed, where I don't have time for what matters, where I feel disconnected from the people I love, where I feel like I'm just surviving week on week. Things like that. Just have a think about what fits you, what's the most important thing to you, and just have a little few minutes to do some journaling. I'll wait here and have a little drink of my coffee. You can hit pause on the podcast if you want to spend some more time journaling on this. But if you're ready to go, what surprised you? What did you feel? Did you notice some patterns showing up? Did it make you feel a certain way? It's really valuable to look at how your body reacted to what you wrote down there. So if you haven't already listened to it, I really encourage you to listen to the Creating a Vision for Your Life episode. I'll pop it in the show notes. That talks all about the direction you want to move towards. This episode is all about the anti-vision and the direction that you want to avoid. So hopefully the two of them together will really help you just creating that idea of what you want out of life so that you feel really confident in setting your goals and going for the life that you've always dreamed of. Your vision here gives you something to move towards. Your anti-vision stops you heading off course, stops you drifting, and stops you ending up in a place that you don't want to be. They're 2 really important things, but when you actually bring them together, they really do create some clarity for you. So as we wind up the episode, just come back to the idea of giving yourself some calm empowerment. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to have the perfect plan. You just need to give yourself some time and space to create some awareness. And that really does make all the difference. So final thoughts is you don't accidentally build your dream life, but you don't need to build it all at once either. You just need to notice when you're not building the life that you actually want. Maybe you're building a life that someone else wants. Maybe you're just kind of going through the motions. Maybe you're just caught up in that routine of just living life and drifting, which I know we can all get into. But this is your opportunity right here now to draw a line in the sand, to make sure that you are checking in with yourself on a regular basis. This never ends, by the way. This isn't something that you get sorted ever. This is something that for your entire life, it's really valuable to do. It's about setting the vision for your life, setting the anti-vision for your life, joining the two together, working out where you want to go and course correcting where you need to so that you can get exactly where you want to be and end up with that dream life that you always wanted. Now, I'd love to hear if this episode has been valuable for me. Please drop me a PM or drop me a comment or send me an email. I would really love to hear from you. And if you found it helpful, please do leave a positive review because it helps more people find the podcast. So that's it from me this week. I've got lots of great interviews coming up for you in this season. I can't wait to share them with you. And in the meantime, let's get building your new life in Australia, one episode at a time. Planning your move to Australia? The Ultimate Immigration Checklist Bundle has everything you need to stay organised and stress-free as you navigate this adventure. Get yours today at movetoaustraliatoolkit.com.